Hello, welcome to Todd Miller TV. Joined here with Juana. Okay, so I hear this a lot from buyers who call listing agents, and what they say is, I'm not represented by a buyer. I don't want anyone representing me. I want to do all the work myself, right? But I want a discount on the house. I want you to throw me back. We're going to knock some money off the house, and I'll do all the work myself, right? And then what happens is they do that. They use the listing agent, and then they end up, after they close, realizing they missed something or something was misrepresented. They feel like they got screwed, and they're all upset. So what is your belief about using the listing agent is to represent everybody and then not wanting to have your own agent?
I think it's very unwise.
Okay.
Okay. Homes are a large investment, and you need to have someone who represents your best interests. No one can serve two masters faithfully. So what happens when you, the buyer, tell the listing agent, well, I want to offer X, but really I can afford to pay X plus Y. I mean, how is that listing agent then supposed to go back to the seller, which is their first client, and not disclose all that, because their first fiduciary responsibility was originally the seller.
Yeah.
So they're caught between a rock and a hard place. So there's no way that one side or the other, or both, will feel that somehow they were wronged.
But
the other thing is the disclosure thing. You know, you need someone who's looking at that property with a different eye, who's looking at that property and encouraging you to do inspections, encouraging you to research things. You're not somebody who's representing the seller and saying it's a great property. This is their job. That listing agent's job is to sell the property. And this is what happens with builders. Builders are another one of my pet peeves. When buyers go into a builder's new home and they don't go in with an agent, they just go in on their own and they have the builder's people do all the paperwork. Guess what? Those people are representing the builder, not you, the buyer. They're not there to look out for your best interests. They're not there to tell you things that you should know. They are there to fulfill the obligations of the seller only, and to represent the seller's best financial interests throughout the whole transaction, not yours. Right. You need a buyer's agent. You need someone in your corner that you can ask questions of, that you can pick their brain. Somebody who's representing the seller, they're not going to be able to do all that for you because they represent the seller. It's a big investment. The thing that gets me is that buyers believe that somehow they are paying more money if they have their own agent.
Yep, yeah. I hear it all the time.
And the truth of it is not true. Absolutely not true. If you go into a new home builder, you will not pay a penny less for that house if you do not have an agent. If you have an agent, guess what's going to happen? That agent is going to know about incentives that you don't know about. So you will actually get a better deal with a buyer's agent in a new home.
But there's a lot of people that say, I'm going to negotiate with the agent so they can sell that house, since they're to make the entire commission, since they don't need the whole thing now because there's no other agent they have to pay, right? But I don't think they understand that the agent's already agreed in writing with a commission rate, and that they're not necessarily going to reduce that just because you are choosing to not have an agent, because now that agent's going to have to do all the work.
Right. So, but the same theory applies. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that that agent does cut their commission, okay? But could you have gotten a better deal on the house? Because now you would have had your agent negotiate for you. Maybe you would have gotten more in closing costs. Maybe you would have gotten something more advantageous to you. And maybe you wouldn't have gotten any of those things, but what about the disclosure items? I know buyers just fall in love with homes and they're not worried about the disclosures. And all of a sudden you close escrow and those disclosure items become big hot buttons, like not being able to put grass in the front yard, like not knowing that the property is being rezoned for another school, all kinds of important things that a buyer's agent would have counseled you on to help you figure those things out. But because you were dealing with the listing agent was primarily concerned with getting the home sold. A buyer's agent doesn't care which home you buy.
Right.
That listing agent cares that you only buy that house.
Right. So you think, though, that like the commission a listing agent gets, for the most part, they're going to get paid whether the home sells or not, whether it's another agent or not. And this misperception that there's two commissions, and that one is for the listing agent, and there's one for the buyer agent. But if there's no buyer agent, then that commission money is like negotiable, and it's not really negotiable.
Right. Number one, that commission money is generally not negotiable, and even if it is, most of the time it will actually cost you more money on the back end to not have had your own agent represent you and negotiate for you.
Okay. And just like anything else that I've seen, it's always the person who's trying to be the cheapest and get around the system who ends up upset at the end because they, oh, well, I thought I was getting a good deal, and in the end they go, how much you pay for that house? Why'd you pay that much? If you had an agent, they would have got it for you 8% cheaper. Like, that was way overpaid. Oh, but I saved, I got 3% knocked off because I didn't use an agent. Oh, well, you overpaid by 8%, but hey, you saved 3% by not using an agent, right?
Right.
Okay. So it doesn't hurt to use an agent. That's the bottom line.
I believe that it puts money in your pocket to have your own agent.
And this comes from listing agents. Remember, we represent people with we represent sellers. So when people come to us and they want us to represent them, I say no. Right? I don't represent the same person.
Right.
I tell them, go find an agent. And I've had people call and say, hey, will you cut a couple % off to me? And I just say no. Why should I? Because I'm going to sell the house no matter what. I don't want to do all the work now. It's not like that. It's not like if you don't get the house, it doesn't get sold. Like, you're the only buyer for it, so I'm stuck negotiating with you, because that's not the case.
Right.
Especially in Vegas.
Yeah, home sell. Look, the bottom line is the home sell. The only person that's incentivized to have you personally buy that house is that listing agent, and that is a clear conflict of interest because then you're not being represented. That listing agent is primarily concerned with their bottom line, not yours. And second of all, they're concerned with the seller's bottom line, again, not yours. You are third on that scale, and I don't like being third fiddle.
Okay. All right, so anyway, thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome.
That's my update, and hope to see you on another video. Thanks.